In this week's drive, we look at the Big Mac back on track, see a rider try to be a driver, take the people's car to the dunes, and find it's not as easy as it looks. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with the first show and test of McLaren's all-new Formula One car for next year. Scotsman David Coulthard gave the new machine its track debut in late November, as teams began testing for the first time since the end of the season in October. Coulthard drove the new MP419, the car he hopes will reverse his rotten luck in his last season with the Mercedes-powered team. They have signed Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya from Williams for 2005.
Well, when a car runs for the first time, there's always a lot of excitement in the team. So for a driver, it's the same. To be the first one to have the opportunity to try that new car is an honour. And it's extremely positive, I think, to get that early feeling for the car and give direction to the engineers. And you know, the first day of their World Championship campaign starts here and now, so it's a very important day.
McLaren completed this season with a development of last year's car after the car that was due to be introduced mid-season repeatedly failed crash tests. Jaguar, Toyota, Renault and Sauber have all announced January launches for their new cars, with other teams yet to finalise dates.
The target is obviously to do as many miles as possible. I think, again, everybody wants to achieve that, but we have our next year's car ready by now, and we hope to get a benefit out of that. We have intensive testing ahead of us in Valencia, in Barcelona, in Jerez, so 3 Spanish circuits, and this all will happen before Christmas, and so is an intensive period of testing in front of us, and hopefully we learn a lot, and hopefully we are quick and reliable.
The car has already passed its crash tests and has an all-new V10 engine to conform to new regulations for next year, intended to cut costs by limiting teams to 1 engine per car per race weekend. The new engine is more compact than the previous one, giving packaging advantages and a lower centre of gravity.
Well, the focus for the engine manufacturers now isn't just purely on power, it's on reliability as well, as we have 1 engine to use through the entire weekend. This engine ran for the first time on the 31st of July, and it's already had quite extensive dyno testing, so to have that in the car now in November, it proves a big challenge for the team to get the reliability, but hopefully having that early start will give Mercedes-Benz that vital step forward over our opposition.
The new design accommodates a number of new rules, including that which limits each driver to 1 engine per race weekend. The rear wing is restricted to 2 horizontal elements, and the engine cover size is increased. Other visible design differences include the relocation of the radiator exit and twin top exit exhausts. The 2004 season starts in Melbourne in Australia in March. It's that time of the year when some of the best drivers and riders in the world gather for the Race of Champions in the Canary Islands. Over 3 days, 40 of the world's star drivers and riders race head-to-head in identical machinery around a parallel tracked circuit for the titles of the world's fastest nation and Champion of Champions. In the Nations Cup, Spanish 250 Grand Prix star Fonsi Nieto in the red car squared off against American 250 Supercross rider Travis Pastrana. But it was Nieto driving for the All-Stars team who took to the bumps and berms beside the track and kept his toe in to confirm the mistake, allowing his rival to clean up on the half-tar, half-dirt track. However, one of his teammates hoped to rescue the situation.
I've been riding my mountain bike a lot more, so just to get used on the dirt tracks a little bit more. It's a lot easier when you come back on the second year, knowing the circuit and knowing a little bit what to expect from the car. So this year's been a little bit better, but now I have my teammate on the final. Let's see what happens.
Driving in more familiar machinery, French rally star Gilles Panizzi, also in the All-Stars team, beat out Spanish fellow rally driver Flavio Alonso. The ROC Nations Cup races featured 9 national teams: Germany, the USA, Spain, the United Kingdom, Italy, France, Sweden, Finland and the All-Stars, composed of 3 drivers, one each from race, rally and motorcycle disciplines. Sebastian Loeb, runner-up in the 2003 World Rally Championship, was waiting his turn. Champ Car racing driver Oriol Servia was up against De Mata in very unfamiliar cars. Before joining Toyota Formula One, Cristiano drove a Toyota-powered Champ Car in the US, scoring 11 career victories, and he won the title in 2002. De Mata was impressive on their combined tarmac and loose dual-lane track. Hardly surprising, really. His father was a 14 times Brazilian touring car champion. The All-Stars team of De Mata, Panizzi and Nieto claimed the Nations Cup. Next, the drivers contest the Race of Champions to find the best from all disciplines, including last year's winner, former World Rally champion Marcus Gronholm, and we'll cover that race in next week's Drive. One of the main attractions at the recent Essen Motor Show in Germany was the launch of the new Volkswagen Touareg Desert Racer. The all-new four-wheel drive racing vehicle has a 2.3-litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel engine and is designed to face the grueling conditions in the world's toughest marathon rally raid. German driver Jutta Kleinschmidt, the first woman to win the Paris-Dakar back in 2001, was full of confidence the Touareg would perform well in the rally, due to start on January the 1st.
Yeah, for me it was a big experience because since 1.5 years I am at Volkswagen, so it was a great moment for me to drive this new Touareg, and we was working hard, especially the last 3 months, to finish the project, to start with the car in the next Dakar Rally, so it was a big moment. And then when you feel the car feels well and has a good handling and it's jumping very nice, and it was a great moment for me, and I only can to thank everybody who helps us to bring the car on the road.
Her teammate is Frenchman Bruno Sabi, who is also impressed with the progress achieved in such a short period of time.
We've just done 2 weeks of testing in Morocco. I was pleasantly surprised because the car is brand new, but I quickly realised the new car has started well. I have had the chance in my career to drive many racing cars, but I was surprised to see how quickly they have managed to make the Touareg into a competitive car.
This year, Kleinschmidt teams up with another woman, 48-year-old Italian Fabrizia Pons, a mother of 2 who lists singing opera as a hobby. She entered her first rally as a driver in 1976, but later took the passenger seat as a navigator. Fabrizia's biggest successes came between 81 and 85 as a co-driver for Michel Mouton in the Audi Works team, adding a win at the Monte Carlo Rally in 1997. The team took the cars to the Moroccan desert for a series of rigorous tests. 2 weeks of non-stop stress, desert heat, the steepest sand dunes and metre-high jumps. According to Volkswagen's new motorsport director Chris Nissen, the Danish ex-racing driver, the race Touareg, with all its redesigned components, had to first prove itself to be reliable during the daily grind of the desert. Then it's a question of working out the best interaction between all the systems. The suspension, the four-wheel drive, the 6-speed gearbox, and the characteristics of the 5-cylinder turbo diesel must all work seamlessly with one another and meet the demands of the drivers. The team want to complete as many test kilometres as possible and simulated almost the complete distance of the Dakar Rally, if not the full range of different conditions. The first few days of the test concentrated on improving the suspension setup and compliance over small road irregularities for maximum performance. The car has already convincingly mastered jumps and big bumps. The vehicle is well balanced with ideal weight distribution, and an immense amount of attention to detail was invested during its construction. Both drivers tested every change alternately before discussing their wishes with the engineers to decide the direction of future development. The 2004 edition of the Dakar starts on the first day of the new year in France. Competitors will race through Spain, Morocco, Mauritania, Mali and Burkina Faso for 17 days until reaching the final stage around Dakar in Senegal. Japanese Hiroshi Matsuoka of the Mitsubishi team is the defending champion. Also at the Essen show was the car that Mitsubishi hope will spearhead their 2004 World Rally Championship campaign. The Mitsubishi Lancer WRC04 is a completely fresh design, an attempt to rebuild Mitsubishi's tarnished record in the championships. The company made the decision to sit out most of the 2003 season so that it could go back to the drawing board. The team started the year with a car that failed to live up to the glory days of 1996 to 1999, when Tommi Mäkinen took 4 straight world titles. Leading the new effort for Mitsubishi will be Frenchman Gilles Panizzi, formerly with the Peugeot team. He thinks the Lancer has what it takes to compete with the best, given time and development.
Yeah, it's great, fantastic. It's the first time to drive another car than the Peugeot, and this one, the balance of the car, it's great, and it's at this moment easy. But we have at the 0 level, and we have to do all, and it's fantastic to start with this team.
The Lancer began testing in mid-October and will be developed ahead of its first appearance at the 2004 Monte Carlo Rally in January. The Rally Championship imposes conflicting demands. For example, in its first 3 months, the new Mitsubishi will face tarmac and ice in Monte Carlo, snow in Sweden, and loose, dusty surfaces in Mexico. Mitsubishi spent 3 weeks testing in the Lola Racing team's wind tunnel, redesigning the bonnet and the front and rear wings. The first priority was more downforce, but attention was also paid to airflow through the engine bay to maximise cooling. The team will treat the 2004 season as a learning process, going back to basics to create a world rally car that is the basis for a future winner.
Mitsubishi Motorsport has put, let's say, big attention on performance and reliability. So this car philosophy is make it simple and try to get, the best from the design side in order to achieve the performance that Mitsubishi expects us to achieve.
The Japanese marque first ventured into the world of motorsport more than 40 years ago and have won 4 World Drivers' Championships and the all-important Constructors' title in 1998, all with just retired Finnish driver Tommi Mäkinen, who ended his career with the rival Subaru squad. In total, Mitsubishi won 34 World Rallies between 1974 and 2002, making them the 6th most successful of the 20 manufacturers in the series in the last 30 years. Panizzi will be joined by the rising star Christian Solberg, who will share the second Lancer with other drivers. The 25-year-old Finn made his debut in 1997. Supermoto, a hybrid motorcycle racing format that combines elements of motocross and road racing, is reaching the American racing scene. The style of racing, which has been popular in Europe as supermotard for several years, has spawned many distinctive road bikes from several European and Japanese manufacturers. The bikes used for racing are similar to motocross bikes, but use wider, slick tyres to handle both dirt and sealed surfaces. Thanks to relatively slow speeds and good protective gear, crashes are seldom serious. The American version, Supermoto, evolved from the 1970s superbike category, where racers from an off-road, flat track and road racing circuit battled it out to determine who was the best overall racer. The movement faded after some time in the US, but stayed alive on supermotard tracks across Europe. However, the crowd-pleasing form of racing is now making a comeback. A national series of events was held at various venues across America, the season ending with a race in Las Vegas, Nevada, featuring 74 top racers, including Supercrossers Jeff Ward, Jeremy McGrath and Mike Metzger, and European supermoto racers such as Frenchman Boris Chambon and German Jürgen Kunzel. Both on KTMs, they came into the event as heavy favourites, 2 of the top 3 riders in the World Championship. The 2 failed to win the first American title, however, as they crashed in separate incidents during the opening laps. Another Frenchman, Alexandre Thibault on a Honda, led for more than half the race, before giving way to American superbike road racer Ben Bostrom, Jeff Ward, Doug Henry and Englishman Kurt Nichol, in a thrilling five-man struggle for the win. In the end, Bostrom edged out the competition to take home the title.
Supermoto is awesome. You know, there's specialists on the dirt, there's specialists on the road, specialists on jumps, ramps, you name it, and they all came together tonight to kind of have a showdown for who's going to be king of everything. So,
the 1998 AMA Superbike champ picked up his second career crown by outbreaking Jeff Ward on lap 11 of 14 and holding off Doug Henry. The penultimate round of the one-make Boxer Cup went home to Germany for a 20-lap race. Double winner Roberto Panicci took pole position. A win was vital if he was to win the title. A surprise second on the grid for American Brian Parriott, who did some pre-race testing here. Ex-Grand Prix racer Peter Uttel narrowly missed pole by taking to the grass and claimed third on the grid. Sebastian Legrel also has to finish ahead of Andy Hoffman to win the title. Championship leader Hoffman qualified only 8th. He won here last year but doesn't like the track. Series ambassador Randy Mamela makes a rare start on a VIP guest bike and qualified 5th fastest. 70,000 spectators watched the race. From the lights, Panicci grabbed an early decisive hole shot to lead into the first corner. Behind him, the big ungainly road bikes turned racers were crowding each other for position. German Marcus Barth made a lightning start to go from 7th on the grid to 2nd ahead of Peter Uttel and Englishman Richard Cooper. The first few corners of the 3.6-kilometre circuit are tight, and from where he was in the leading pack, Mamela said later he felt like he was in a sea of BMWs. At the start of the second lap, American Jason Perez ended his race early, and this created a gap between the leaders, Panicci, Barth and Uttel, and the rest of the field, including his teammate Brian Parriott, now 4th. Perez had scored points in Spain and Belgium. A lap later, with the field more spread out, Uttel makes a run on Barth's second place and slips through convincingly. The next rider to go down and out was Italian Andrea Padovani, who parked his bike upside down. The camera didn't catch the reason for the crash, but despite being flicked into the air and sliding fast and far, the rider wasn't seriously hurt. Some more work for the technicians and some more business for the spare parts department. Back at the sharp end of the race, Uttel continued his charge to the front, nipping around leader Panicci to take the lead with Barth 3rd. The track was taking its toll. On the 4th lap, Belgian Koen Vleugels, Dutchman Jeroen Ouderman and Spaniard Alex Busquets all got tangled up in each other's crash, although the Spanish rider was able to ride through the gravel trap and regain the track, with stones embedded in his hot tyres. He would finish 21st. Ouderman has scored 16 points so far this year. 5 laps later, and the battle for the lead is still between Uttel, Barth and Panicci. Barth sees a gap and passes his fellow German to take the lead, with Italian Panicci still 3rd ahead of Legrel, now ahead of Parriott. Barth hasn't won a single round, but lies 5th in the title chase. Up at the front, Panicci has regained the lead, but in his eagerness to get back to the front, Barth loses rear-end grip and runs off the track. Despite fighting to stay in control, he was going straight to the scene of the inevitable crash. Legrel now joined the battle for the lead as the front bunch came up to lap Panicci's teammate, lady racer Rosanna Scolari. The Belgian going round the outside as Uttel goes inside the mobile chicane. Legrel moved up to lead briefly, but the Italian knocked him back to regain the top spot. Meanwhile, Mamela was entertaining the crowds, recreating his famous foot-off-the-peg style of his Grand Prix glory days while holding 7th place. By the last lap, Panicci had opened up a gap, but the race for podium places intensified. Parriott was 2nd, but Uttel made a terrible mistake, ran wide and dropped down to 5th. Austrian Thomas Hinterreiter swings out to go to 2nd. But Harriot makes a mistake on the last corner. Hinterreiter and Legrel are able to brake later than the American, putting him down to fourth. Panici was able to cruise the last few hundred metres as Legrel outgunned Hinterreiter to the line, with Harriot a fraction behind in fourth. Swiss title leader Andy Hoffman finished sixth, but only after Randy Mamola waved him through on the run to the line. With his title lead down to just 6 points over Legrel and 16 over Panici, the championship is down to the final round at Brno in the Czech Republic. Finally, the world's fastest man, Formula One world champion Michael Schumacher, got behind the wheel of a unique vehicle capable of just 15 kilometers an hour. Hundreds of people watched the 6-time champion drive a replica of the lunar rover moon vehicle down a Munich street to mark the opening of a new store for one of his sponsors, watchmaker Omega. Although he may never get to drive the buggy in its intended environment, Schumacher felt over the moon to have been given the chance to drive a vehicle that is simply out of this world.
It's quite interesting to drive it. If you go slowly, it's relatively easy, but if you do go quicker, it becomes a little bit complicated due to the delay of the steering behavior. So it was a bit tricky, and you need to get used to.
The new flagship store was officially opened by Michael Schumacher pressing his hands into concrete. The resulting plaque will go on display at the shop. The 34-year-old German also met astronaut Charles Duke, who drove the original lunar rover on the moon during the Apollo 16 moon mission. The American astronaut showed Schumacher around an exhibition devoted to space exploration, which included a piece of moon rock. Michael was just a toddler when Apollo 16 blasted off.
Well, it's over 31 years now that I was on the moon, and it seems like yesterday. We drove the car, which revolutionized lunar exploration. We were able to go 5-6 kilometers away. And as I stood on the moon and looked up, I could see a beautiful Earth in the sky. Every time I look up, I'd say, we are really a long way from home.
The Omega company has also produced limited edition watches to commemorate his victories. A whole section of the store was dedicated to Michael Schumacher's achievements, and the race driver signed his autograph on a giant picture and also spoke about his motivation and rumours of his retirement.
I look forward to plenty more championships, honestly, because I'm just so much in love with that sport, and for me the number of success is not the drive of my motivation, it's simply the sport itself.
Schumacher also examined the craftsmanship that goes into making each timepiece at a typical watchmaker's bench. But outside, a traffic warden was looking at the illegally parked moon buggy. It looked as if she was going to issue a parking ticket, but the smile showed that in the end she was just pulling his leg. The 6-time Formula One champion said he enjoyed his time in the lunar vehicle, but he can't wait to get back to his day job. So whether you like your action sandy, bumpy or muddy, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.